Back we are on a Saturday night for ESPN Cricinfo Timeout as we look ahead to what was one of the standout fixtures when this grouping was announced, the group of death with New Zealand and South Africa. It might have lost a little bit of what's riding on it because Port Afghanistan have gone down to both New Zealand and South Africa. But at the back of one of the World Cup all-time classics, it'll be fun to see how South Africa take on New Zealand. We build up to that game. We look back to another hard-fought England win in Kolkata Island, making sure things remain interesting in that Group B along with Australia and Sri Lanka. So there's plenty that we've got covered for you. Saturday night party gang for me is Gaurav Sundaraman, our senior T20 analyst. Just good to see you again.
Thank you. Good to see you. You've not been around for a long time.
Thank you, GS. That doesn't seem like the welcome I expected from you.
You're in the big league now.
Oh, speaking of the big league, well done, GS. Do you know for the last 3 days, or I've done 3 games so far with Bish, but he uses all his power with the ICC producers, and he has loads to not make sure we don't get a single stint. So it's because he can't avoid me here. This is my turf. Ian Bishop.
Clearly, I saw you lying down on the floor on the ground in Mumbai. Well, clearly, I don't take him seriously.
I was tired of Raunak, so I had to lie down.
Bish, welcome back
Thanks
to Cricinfo. It's always a pleasure having you. Let's talk New Zealand v South Africa. And let's just talk about what we saw the last time we saw South Africa, because that game, no matter which part of the world you were in, you had to quickly tune in to see something that we've never seen before, a double super over. Before I get into today's game, take me through just your reaction, which when you saw that, what you were sort of taking away from that game in Ahmedabad and how things played out.
Well, when it was coming down to about 16 overs completed, I thought this is going to go down to the wire. I didn't really expect the culmination of the innings with the run out and all that to come through with a ball or two to spare, and then for Stubbs to hit the 6 off the last ball there when Afghanistan thought they had it, made your heart flutter. So I can imagine South African and Afghan fans. And then some of the choices to bowl, etc. It was very intense, is the way to put it. I think anyone who watched it, if you had a stake in it, you would have lost a couple of years.
I mean, Dale Stein's voice told you everything about what people who have a stake in it, and it's just raw passion coming through there. And yeah, Bish is right. Now in the next 2-3 days, I'm just thinking, how does Rashid Khan not bowl 1 out of 2 super overs? You know, if that was one takeaway. Just the choice of Afghanistan there, and which is why perhaps this game has not as much riding on it.
Yeah, I think both teams wanted to lose that day. It was pretty. Especially a no ball. South Africa started celebrating. KG bowling 2 no balls in the final over. Very fortunate for Afghanistan that got them back. And no, I didn't expect that coming.
I've
never seen him really bat so comfortably and smash those 6s. That was pretty good.
So CSK now bat till 10. Is that what you're saying now?
That's not what I'm saying. But a great game. Double super overs, now we can't match that. And in fact, it was Afghanistan's second loss in a double super over. They'd lost to India once in Bangalore. That was also that was a very high scoring game as well.
212 or something like that. Yeah, all right, brilliant. Since you brought up Rabada, amongst the many talking points, now we're looking at these two teams as very strong contenders, title contenders, if not for the semi-finals at least. New Zealand and South Africa. And when we talk about Rabada, we're talking about one of the best bowlers of his generation, right up there among South Africa's all-time greats in all format fast bowlers. And that last over was anything but what you expect from an all-time great.
What's coming? With the new ball, I think he still always has that strength of hitting the deck, hitting the stumps, and there's always that with some nippy conditions he'll be good. But I think depth is something which he definitely needs to improve. I've seen teams use Rabada only in the middle. I think that was 1 year with Punjab Kings where he bowled a lot in the middle. Maybe Team South Africa have to figure out with Marco in there, and maybe if they have based on their combination, maybe they could look to kind of use him as a middle over enforcer when the field is spread. But definitely, in my view, he's not the test bowler in the T20 format. He just needs to develop some more skills.
Which pick up from that, one, there's a technical side on how Rabada can evolve with more skills. Second is the no ball point, which is quite staggering.
Yeah, the no ball point is something I think KG will be very, very disappointed with, because it seems, as Gaurav said, to be going on forever. I'm watching the game at a no ball from Rabada. If he's playing T20 cricket, a no ball from Rabada. And in a day where you use the measuring tape, where guys training themselves. You look throughout this World Cup, you'll see a number of bowlers 6 inches back with their toe from the line. There's too much technology for KG to continue encroaching on that line. That's one. And there are years at Delhi where he had a good Yorker going, then he bowled well in the top, then he stopped bowling well in the top and he was bowling well in the middle. And so he has to find now with his rich experience where his strength lies. I think it's taking a little long because I think you transition better as a fast bowler across formats than a batter. So KG really has to find his zone.
Okay, I want to ask you on the no ball point. You think by now you would have coached that out of experienced T20 bowlers? So why does an experienced bowler like Rabada still have what we can call almost a serial no ball problem? Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I can't speak for KG, but I know for a fact Marco Jansen had one, and he did some work on it. He used to bowl a proliferation of it. He talked about his coach and they're working on it. And it's not hard. It's not rocket science. It's will and it's discipline. Just to be able to come back from the line 3 to 4 inches at practice. You do it for 1 week and then it becomes ingrained in you.
So just on that point, while I've attended those numerous training sessions over the last few years, when people actually bowl in the nets and in training practice, they don't really take so much emphasis on that line. I don't think they really plan it as it is. They don't simulate match conditions. I've seen bowlers just ambling in, just coming in, making sure that it's going well out of the hand.
That's a lack of discipline.
So I think what he needs to do is kind of actually take a week just to kind of practice that, move the line, have the full tilt run up, kind of replicate what they do in the match. Very few bowlers actually do that unless you really want to work with someone specifically on that.
That is news to me because I thought that was about 3-4 years back where then bowling coaches started saying, no, we need to simulate exactly the same kind of conditions because of the no ball problem. Bumrah is someone who worked very hard to get rid of the front foot no ball problem. But you're saying that's still the exception, not the norm in training.
Yeah. Definitely, I'm sure I've seen a lot of players just come in, want to try their skills, they overstep, they just bowl from a certain distance. But having said that, if you want to get, it's obviously available. If you want to solve that problem, you can do it. I'm sure KG might have done it. We both don't know that.
There are some teams, I know like Ravi Rampal, who coaches the West Indies, he's big on it. He'll stand there at practice and tell you when you're going over, because there are two things that happen. You go over the front line, but you also develop a kind of length when you're bowling 6 inches ahead of the line and you go out into the match and you wonder why my length isn't where it needs to be, is because that's the muscle memory you created. So it's discipline for anyone listening.
Okay, well, there you go. That's the discipline issue with Kageshwar Rabada. Let's hope we see a better version of him. The last question I'll ask on this is his place at all under the scanner? I mean, Corbin Bosch seems a real package, and they left him out to play George Linder, which is a combination call. But are we ever looking at a South African team in the near future that might want to pick another fast bowler purely on form or returns? How far are we from there?
Well, when I was here last time with Gaurav, I don't know how many days ago that was, I said I believe that KG had to play. I still hold true to that. When your body of work is as extensive as his, you get a longer rope. But I think that scrutiny will just be casting an eye on him to see whether he can pick up his form as South Africa head into the next stage.
I can confirm he is playing today, and so is Corbin Bosch. So the George Linder call was just for the day game in Ahmedabad. This is of course a night game, 7 o'clock start. So we'll wait to see how Rabada goes, and then I would love to perhaps on Amit Show come in with those variations, see how Rabada goes this evening, and we can take it further from there. That's a brilliant chat. South Africa are bowling first, can confirm that as well for you in match 24 at the Narendra Modi Stadium. So New Zealand will have a bat. They've had 2 chases so far, and they've had some pretty high scores to chase, but so not without any trouble. Let's talk New Zealand. What have we learnt of New Zealand, and what was 2 tricky games? At least the opening game was a real tricky one. Have we seen them getting better? What's working for them at the top is Seifert and Finn Allen.
Yeah, I think they both have really, they're on an upward curve over the last couple of years. Both of them have done really well for them. They're setting up the platform. In fact, Rachin, the guy who has actually been on the spotlight over the last few years, I think he's the one who needs to kind of up his game, especially in this format. But the opening partnership is pretty strong, and they're setting a good base. And New Zealand always in these world tournaments, they know how to win. They're a team which hardly they don't struggle too much especially in the league stages and Super 8s, etc. So I think they're pretty well oiled. They know what everybody's roles are, and it'd be interesting to see how they keep going as the tournament progresses. They're playing on pretty good batting venues. They played in Chennai twice, and today in Ahmedabad, and again all venues I think par is about 200 plus. So they're enjoying these conditions. Once they go to Sri Lanka, I feel the likes of Seifert and Finn Allen could be tested, and where they need to adapt a little bit.
For the time being, unchanged New Zealand team. So that goes to GS's point. It's a team that's identified their best 11. And they're quite happy to stick with it. Unfortunately, Michael Bracewell has officially been ruled out of the tournament, so they'll have to make do with the combination they've gone with here. And Jimmy Neesham was potentially that spot where you could have chosen to play the extra spin bowling all-rounder, but that's the team now that looks set to continue barring any other injuries or so. Bish, thoughts on New Zealand, who seem to have settled into this tournament?
Yeah, they want to get more. Seifert and Allen are going well. Okay, fine. But if they were to get nicked out and South Africa have a couple of guys up front, if they bowl with their best form, they can nick out a couple at the top. So yes, I agree with G that Rachin has to step up. Matt Chapman has been playing good cricket now and batting well for the better part of 12 months. And I think we're going to probably see the best of him at some point in this tournament. Glenn Phillips came out that injury run, and you know what he can do, not only in the field, but with the bat. So I think there are one or two little question marks that they need to sort of answer with their best form if the openers. Seifert's going like a dream. He's been going like a dream for about 18 months now. And Finn Allen, that's 17, how many sixes is it, the record in a World Cup? 17 or something like that? Puran? In the T20 World Cup?
No, I don't remember.
Yeah.
What?
How
Well
much
done,
is it?
Bish.
How
Well
much is
done.
it?
Yeah.
I think that
17
could
was
go.
I know, but I
Morgan.
don't want to make it easy for Gaurav. Let him find out and come back to
Come
us.
on.
I have no recollection of the most sixes in a T20 World Cup game.
Oh my God.
This is why Simon Dool doesn't like people like you.
That we don't remember stats.
I think it's around there somewhere. And I think the way the game has transitioned now with these big, strong batters like Finn Allen, like Tim David, Matt Short, who's not, the sixes are going to rain down. So I wouldn't be surprised if that record is broken.
But I can confirm that Finn Allen has the most sixes in T20s,
Right.
not T20 World Cups. In
Right.
T20s, that was in the MLC.
Right, so he's coming.
Go on, you two. I'm enjoying this. Yeah, anything else? No? All right.
That's the end of that.
Let's keep it going though, because Bish and GS have forged as explosive a partnership as Finn Allen and Tim Seifert. So let's talk about the explosive opening partnership that New Zealand have and where they stand perhaps amongst most opening stands in this tournament. Let's look at Finn Allen and focus on him. Seifert, as we mentioned, has been in good form. He's started this tournament really well, back-to-back half centuries. What about Finn Allen though? And what's he been up to? 192 that strike rate, which is number 2 only to Abhishek Sharma. That's staggering numbers actually.
That's really good, and he goes slightly under the radar because he doesn't play. In fact, he's not played much in India, if I remember right. I think the last T20 was his first game in India. He hasn't played so many games in India. He's not played the IPL. This is the first year he's getting a call up. I think he'll be a more regular player there, and I have the privilege to work with him in the MLC. He plays for a team called San Francisco Unicorn, and he's upped his game. If you see the game against spin especially, I think the numbers will come up against leg spin and left arm spin. He's got that back foot shot over the pull when you play the back foot, which Klaasen does really well, and that shot has really got him these kind of numbers. 230 against leg spin with a 93% control, which is pretty amazing. Left arm orthodox also was 194 with a 73% control. So he goes back, rocks up and smashes these spinners for 6, which he's added to his game, which is something which I know very few overseas batters have developed against spin. And that's very evident now, and he's not someone you can just come in, bowl left arm spin and then get out. So don't blame me if Kesh gets him out early today, but but that's the game he's developed, and I think he's understood game awareness, also match awareness, and he's turning a corner.
So this is high praise, backed up by great stats. So can we say that Finn Allen is in the league now of the most explosive batters on form at the moment? Abhishek Sharma, Travis Head, Phil Salt. We don't seem to, Finn Allen's name doesn't sort of come off the tongue, roll off the tongue over there. But where would you place him, Bish? Is he right up there now? Or is there still a difference between him and the names I mentioned?
I think I still want to see more from Finn Allen. He hasn't been a rock in the New Zealand international setup in the same way that Phil Salt and Abhishek have been. So I think, and we've seen him since, I think it was the 2018 and the 19 World Cup. So we've known about Finn for some time, but he's not established it yet, but he has the destructive power. What I want to see with the destructive power is something we see from Abhishek. We haven't seen it from Phil Salt yet in this World Cup, but to put some volume scoring next to the destructiveness. Don't be destructive for me for 10 runs at a 200 strike rate. You want more than that, and he's had a good tournament so far.
But I think the way I would judge players like Finn Allen, I wouldn't look at. I completely agree with Bish in terms of those big volume. But I don't.
I knew there was a bud coming. I
don't think you can expect consistency from him. What you would see if he plays 6 games, I think he'll be new 2, and he'll be out for single digits in 4. That's the way if I was kind of analyzing Finn Allen, that's my expectation of Finn Allen, because that's his game. It's a very high risk game. You cannot expect someone to notch up those numbers. Even Abhishek, for that matter, if you've seen, he's had a couple of ducks early.
I'll accept the Abhishek way. I'll accept the Phil Salt way. Phil doesn't fire. I'm not expecting a guy to come up every game and give me a. That's not what T20 cricket is all about. But there needs to be a level, a basic foundation of what he can offer.
And I think T20 power hitting for openers has also evolved from all or nothing. Even your definition of nothing, your bad day should be that 15 of 6 or that 20 of 8.
Seifert.
That is, and therefore, the Bish's point, Seifert seems to have gotten more returns against higher quality, higher ranked opposition. So I'd love to see if Finn Allen can do that. Maybe, I don't know, I don't like to always bring in the upcoming IPL in the middle of the World Cup, but they're both playing for KKR, aren't they? And they're potentially auditioning for one spot at the top with Narayan or with whoever. So right now, who's ahead? Seifert is well ahead?
No, in my books, I'll start with Finn, because I think he has a higher ceiling.
And sometimes IPL cricket could be a little different from
absolutely
120. You don't need the guy who's in better T20 returns.
I would like to see Finn get a long run, give him 7-8 games. Why can't both of them play?
He's gone with Finn. I've gone the other way.
You've gone the other way, Seifert. Who would Sunil Narayan prefer? That's a conversation.
Seifert.
All right. It'll be exciting to see them against a strong South African bowling attack. Ngidi in form. Rabada, we know, in spite of that last over in the last game. But when you throw in Corbin Bosch, who's now back in for George Linder, Keshav Maharaj is excellent. And you've got the all-round options too, if you so need them, with Marco Jansen. And this is a really serious team. That they could come out of that sticky spot against Afghanistan, perhaps in the opinions of many pundits, and you've read and heard this before, is the difference we're seeing in this South African team than the South African teams perhaps of a few years back at ICC events. The batting's in great touch, and let's focus on one of South Africa's key bowlers now. We've spoken of Rabada, but what about Marco Jansen, whose stocks are only growing? He's still to hit this World Cup running, and let's see what Yash Jha has dug up on him.
If you strike at 140 plus and concede less than 8 per over, it makes you truly elite. There are only 5 such players in men's T20 since the last World Cup, and part of this league of extraordinary all-rounders is 25-year-old Marco Jansen. He's been lighting up the stage across franchise leagues and for South Africa, but there's one frontier he's yet to conquer. An economy of 7.3 in South Africa, but 9 in India. That's a difference of more than 1.5 runs per over. And in T20 cricket, that is often the difference between winning and losing. Let's dive deeper. Jansen's stock delivery is the back of length ball, where he uses his 6'8" frame to get the most out of the ball and the surface. It works like a dream in the death overs when batters are trying to swing freely, but in the power plays, in India in particular, it tends to be a liability. Over half of Jansen's power play deliveries are back of length or short, and nearly 1 in 4 of them go to the boundary. Compare that to the death overs, where the same type of deliveries yield much better results as batters are taking more risks. Delve deeper and the data is telling. In South Africa, Jansen bowls 58% deliveries which are hitting the stumps, much fuller. In India, the same number is 51%, and that's 7% represents dozens of deliveries that sit up nicely for batters as opposed to challenging their technique. But Jansen's challenge in India is not just limited to the ball. Let's look at his batting. He's been more than solid against pace, a strike rate touching 150, but spin, that's been his kryptonite. Jansen's strike rate against spin is 125, and more worryingly, 5 out of his 9 dismissals to spin have seen him get bored. That is a technical flaw waiting to be exploited. The numbers don't lie. A strike rate touching 140, an economy rate hovering around the 8 per over mark. But a solid all-round World Cup in India is what will truly put Jansen in the category of the elite.
Okay, top stuff from Yash. The main question as a result of the data that he did present was, has Marco Jansen not yet found the right length to bowl in India? Is that just a bit too short? And does that perhaps explain why his economy is as high as it is? Now, Bish, how much do you agree, disagree? How do you evaluate the data that's presented there?
First of all, I'll say Marco is 25 years old, so he's still finding his way to that elite category. I think that takes a little bit of time in playing so much international and franchise cricket. I think he'll get there, because when I saw him, I was saying to Gaurav in the green room, when we saw him in the semi-final of the ODI World Cup here in 2023, he had a bad time. There's wides everywhere and they lack confidence. And since then, I've seen some growth in him. I've seen some consistency in him. And if it's not necessarily in India, I think he will eventually find his way. It takes a while to work out when you're coming from the extreme. Dale Steyn probably has done it better and quicker than most, but that's a great guy you're talking about. So I think Marco will find his way. What's the ideal length, when to go short, when to go full, when to pitch it up and swing it because he can't swing it, and when to bowl a more defensive length.
Is it fair to say that it's still a player who is improving? I think his last IPL was certainly better than his previous international visits to India.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think his height is a major advantage which he needs to kind of capitalize, especially in conditions, and he plays in India very often. And he is going to be playing, he's going to be one of the most sought after cricketers, especially in the T20 format. So I think, again, when you look at that South African team, is he the go-to bowler? Is he someone, when you see those 5 bowlers, you as a captain, is there one bowler whom you, in this format, whom you can go for wickets? I don't think Marco Jansen is there yet. I think power play, yes, he is pretty good. But again, conditions need to favor. You can kind of line him up and hit him. And how does he come back? So one of the things we always look at, what is your comeback ball? How do you kind of restrict if somebody hits you for the 4 or 6? I think he needs to develop those skills. But he has a lot of self-belief. Again, having the chance to work with him, he's extremely a guy who doesn't go too much into preparation, but he has enormous self-belief, and he believes that he can be the best, and he wants to kind of be like emulate KG and Dale, and that's his kind of goal, especially in Test cricket. So when someone has that kind of belief and ambition, I'm sure he'll figure that out here. But having said that, he needs to kind of get the length. He needs to hit the stumps more often, especially in India. Bowl those slow off cutter. He has a very good slow ball and kind of use them.
Well, sorry, just quickly. There was one. Remember this. Let's remember this, right? Josh Hazlewood, right? Remember when Josh was purely a red ball bowler, and it wasn't until
2021 IPL.
3 IPL seasons ago that he focused on T20 cricket, and he was what, 29, 30, 31 years old when he got to where he's elite now in T20 cricket. So Marco, probably taller, left-handed, so let's give him some time to work things out. I think he'll get there. He has every natural resource, and the only thing I'd say to Marco, if you're watching, we just came from the under-19. Basson is another tall left-handed from the under-19. He's looking at you guys and he's saying, I want to be like those guys. There are guys who want to be like KG. So there's an added responsibility. And you're smiling, but I'm being very serious.
I'm smiling because I love you when you get into this mode.
There is so much admiration from these young cricketers to those guys at international level that you have to be an international player and saying, this is not only for me. I have a responsibility to what's coming behind.
100%. And Marco Jansen was excellent when South Africa came in for the tests. So that, to your point, that he's certainly rising in test cricket. So maybe the Hazlewood path, maybe quicker than Hazlewood, once he figures with more time in IPL cricket as well as in international cricket. Maybe this is the World Cup for him. It will start picking up some steam now as we get closer and closer to the Super 8. So let's keep an eye out for how South Africa bowl. Remember, they won the toss. New Zealand put in to bat for the first time in Ahmedabad, and this is of course the venue that might even host the final. So keep an eye out on how conditions are playing out in these evening games. Same red soil surface as Afghanistan, South Africa, which I did see during the day. Lopsided boundaries is the one thing I remember distinctly, nearly 10 meters in difference, and there'll be much more left and right handers in this team than in Afghanistan. So we'll wait to see how that presents a challenge in the evening games here. Let's review what's already happened on Saturday. Let's start with the game we've just watched. England with another, can we call that a convincing enough win, or still a win that has you concerned a little bit about whether England have really hit their straps in this World Cup? Bish?
I'm not satisfied. I have them as one of the teams, one of the favourites pre-tournament, whether you agree with that or not. I think they have some firepower, and I wasn't really pleased with the fluency of the batting today. I think they could be better. They probably will get better, but today didn't erase all that I thought would be erased.
Is it just the batting that is problematic?
Actually, not really. Even the bowling, if not for Adil Rashid, those 2 wickets kind of brought them back into the game.
Joffrey had a much better day today.
Yeah, he started off well. I think they were about 112 for 3, if I remember right, and then they kind of lost the plot. So I think most other teams might actually go on to score 190, 200 from that situation. I still think that they're slightly heavily reliant on Adil Rashid to have a really solid day. And today, in fact, he went for 36 runs in 4 overs, but still he managed to get those wickets. We'll have to wait and see. I still think they have holes to fill both with bat and ball. They need some convincing performances and against top teams.
Well, they're done playing the West Indies here, so they've only got Italy left in this group.
Yeah.
The Italians would be up for that game at Kolkata. We'll see how that goes. Before I close the conversation on England, is anyone any wiser on why they announced their 11 24 hours in advance?
They asked the Duke at the toss.
Yes, and
he did say that it's for the players to be prepared. For that, they can just tell them in private. They don't have to announce it to the media. So I don't know how that works.
I don't agree with it, but that's their way. I don't see the need to do it. If my opposition can sit and know my 11 the day before and plan exactly to what, it makes it easier for them. I don't like it.
It does make the analyst's job easier for the opposition team, I think.
Correct.
But I've never seen that happen in the IPL, or other teams have hardly done it. So I think this is
okay. Make of it what you will. Quick word on Scotland, though, and every game I see Scotland can only sort of top my hat out to them. Had to assemble quickly together in the circumstances that they had to be part of this World Cup. Have already picked up points against Italy and certainly had their moments in this game. They made England sweat, especially in the power play with the ball. Vish, quick summations on Scotland?
Yeah, I feel for them. I like Richie. I think Richie he's a good dude, as is most of that Scotland team. But their build-up certainly would have hampered them. They've shown moments, and those moments you can convert if you've had the ideal preparation. So my heart goes out to them. They haven't embarrassed themselves, but they know they could have been so much better if they had the knowledge and the preparation.
I mean, I can certainly see them putting in a much better shift than some of the other teams that did qualify through the qualifiers here, whether that's Canada, Oman. I think Scotland have certainly presented a strong case, to be here. That is England-Scotland at Kolkata. We then just quickly wrap up Ireland-Oman, where it's a convincing win for Ireland, and I think that's an important win, because sometimes Ireland are under the fire for these kind of games, because they're so off the boil against the other full members. Ireland, of course, we say more recent full membership and still not the opportunity that matches their status, but big win against Oman, and it just keeps that group interesting and alive. Ireland still have to play Zimbabwe, I think it is. And now with the Australia-Zimbabwe result, all sorts of possibilities. So not a bad thing, perhaps, for our point of view to have Ireland still in.
Yeah, it's a great. That's the group of death now. I think Australia, Sri Lanka on Monday would kind of decide how that group is likely to go, or it may not even decide that. But Ireland, they were actually the spot of bother.
Yes.
At the end of the power play, they lost 3 wickets, and then I think Locke and Tucker and Delaney, I think they had a very good partnership, and then Dockrell kind of put the cherry on top.
35 of 9 with 5 sixes. That's a dream innings for a finisher.
I think they had a 10 ball. 35 or 40 runs in a 10 ball sequence towards the end. So
They were definitely in trouble at
Yeah,
the early stage.
I think Ireland were way above par today, and I thought Oman possibly not up to scratch in this tournament. I think they have been a team which has been slightly way below par than what you kind of expect.
Yeah, we had Isabel Joyce in that first Ireland game, and I asked her sort of whether Paul Stirling is as much under the scanner within Ireland as he is outside, with the age of his career and the diminishing returns. And she says nobody in Ireland really thinks he's going to go anywhere. Now, as it turns out, injuries left the Irish captain out, but Lorcan Tucker takes up the captaincy, smashes 94 not out of 51. Just from the outside, it does look like Irish cricket does have a succession line that looks ready.
Yeah, Lorcan is a good player.
Very good player.
Tectors, they've got guys in the waiting, and again, we saw the Under-19 World Cup, and many of our viewers saw it. There are a couple of 3 or 4 good young seamers, one all-rounder coming through there as well, and young O'Brien. It looks a good, solid player. So yeah, I think surprisingly a little bit for me, given an infrastructure that is starting to grow.
Yep.
I think they've got some good guys coming.
All right, very good. That wraps things up for the morning and afternoon games. So all eyes on New Zealand versus South Africa. I can tell you that I don't think what's the head-to-head in World Cups. South Africa have never beaten New Zealand in World Cups, and the other way around. New Zealand have never beaten South Africa in World Cups. But the recent recent fixtures go to New Zealand 4 out of 5. So this should be a good one. Right, Ngini's got ball, Seifert and Allen are out there. Let's get first innings predictions for what it's worth. GS, with all your knowledge of data.
213.
You know, you just don't get 200 as much as you think they will, but you're happy to think you'll get them today. 213. In Bishop?
180.
That's my man.
What about
Where are you?
Somewhere in the middle.
Get off the fence. You're not that guy
I have no idea
anymore.
what's going to happen.
You have an opinion now.
Do I now?
Yes.
I'm trying to become a slightly more neutral. It might help my side job.
That's gone.
Okay, I'll go for a 165. Right, let's lowball a little
Chicken.
bit. See ya. All right, thank you very much to Ian Bishop and G Stats. And we will have, I think, Sabah Karim join us at the end of the first innings. So look forward to your company then on ESPN Cricket for Timeout. See you then.